Alright, hey guys, just making a video here, show you how I made my electric collar for coyotes or whatever. The only thing I'll be using it for is coyotes. This is all homemade, just with pieces I had laying around. There's a couple things I had to buy. For example, the battery that's running it all and the cooler itself that it's all sitting in. I'll open it up here and I'll give you guys an idea of what's going on. So, I spray painted it. I'm not too worried about the paint itself. I got stuff to drape over it too, so I'll open it up here for you guys. So this is just a cooler I bought from Value Village. Just from a thrift store. It was $10, I think. They had some cheaper ones. This one was exactly what I was looking for, though. So I picked this one up, $10, no biggie. So what we got going on in here, I got a card deck here from one of my older cars. Where I am here in Canada, I couldn't find the Radio Shack amp that everybody uses. We don't have a Radio Shack here. And I couldn't find any cheap amps to make it worthwhile to do that. Where I live here too, I couldn't find any of those horn speakers that everybody uses too, those PA speakers. And if I wanted one, I had to order it online. And I had some speakers kicking around here anyways. So I got two speakers here that I pulled out of my car quite some time back. They're Alpine speakers. I only have one hooked up right now because I tried testing it with both of them hooked up and it was just draining too much of this battery and I didn't really need both of them hooked up. If I do end up wanting to hook both of them up, I got room to put in a new battery, something a little bit bigger. This is just a 12 volt, 7 amp Spy Point battery. My girlfriend works at Cabela's, so she gets a discount on this stuff. I got that with the charger, just with some alligator clips. This guy right here came with it. I think they sell them regular $45. That's in Canada here though. It's a little more expensive. So I have my car deck mounted in here. I just put some bolts through the side. I don't know if you can see them here. Look how cool. Just bolted through. Mounted in with some brackets that I had kicking around. It was just some old metal. I don't even know what kind of metal this is, but it's this stuff over here. I'm sure you guys know what it's for, or some of you know what it's for. I don't know what it's for. I had some of that extra stuff kicking around. So I just bent it, shaped it to the deck here, bolted it in, pretty straightforward. All the wiring there was still attached from the speaker when I took it out. It was actually from a boat, our old boat, so I took that out. All the wiring was still good. I just had to, I don't know what these things are called off the top of my head, but I used those to connect the speaker to it. Fuses in here. 6 amp stereo. I don't know what these guys are, but all I know is that 2 of them hooked up on this battery drains extremely quickly at the volume I wanted at. And then I put a couple connectors on here, 2 female connectors, and they'll just hook up onto the battery here. This guy goes on here, that one goes on there. Pretty straightforward. I have a bungee holding it down, and then some brackets bolted into the bottom on either side, and then one over here, just to stop the battery from moving back and forth, shaking around too much. I'm not too worried about strapping it down very tight just because I'm not lugging it. Just so that it stays in place while I'm carrying it out into the field. pretty straightforward. The bungee's on there so that I can take it off when I need to. If I need to, I take it out and charge it. I haven't run this thing until the battery dies. I'm not too sure how long it goes. I've had it running for an hour and a half, full blast, and there was still lots of juice in it. And then for the speakers, how I put those in there, the cooler, I just cut a ring to the size of the speaker, slipped it in there nice and tight, or as tight as I could, and then put spray foam around it, expanding foam from the outside too. On this side, because I only have this speaker hooked up, this one isn't hooked up right now, so I just put a cover over it from an old coffee cup, or coffee tin, plastic coffee tin, just screwed it in place just to protect it, because these are obviously not outdoor speakers, they're audio or car speakers, so that's just to protect it a little bit. And then on the side where I have the good speaker going, you can see it in here, I believe, there. So it's just a car speaker. And then what I did, because again, it's not an outdoor speaker, it's not those plastic PA horn speakers that can take a beating. Very fragile, right? It's just that material. So I took some chicken wire, bolted it, or screwed it down from the outside, just to protect it. And then for this thing right here, I use that just to keep it out of the elements a little bit. If it's snowing or raining or something, it's going to protect it a little bit. Obviously, I know it's not going to protect everything. So guys, don't tell me that I shouldn't be using those speakers, because I already know what I got myself into. But they were just laying around, so I tried using them. And then this thing right here is just an old Folgers thing here. Cut it open. Made 4 flaps on it here. Flipped them out so that I could screw them in right there, and same on the bottom there. And then I went over it with silicone. Keep some water out of it, in case it's dripping. Not the best silicone, but, and I know my silicone job here is kind of sloppy. My gun wasn't working properly. Just went over it, around on top of this chicken wire that I screwed in. And then went around it with silicone after I had screwed this Folgers thing in. Silicone all the way around. And all the way around on the inside. Just to keep water from dripping into the cooler. Went over it with spray paint. Don't judge me on my camo spray paint job. I mean, whatever. It's good enough. I'm not too worried. So, I have an auxiliary cord in here too. Small auxiliary cord. I'd play this for you guys right now. Actually, maybe I can. No. The phone I'm using to record this is the phone that I have my sounds on right now for coyotes. But I have an iPhone, an old iPhone 4 that I'm going to be plugging into the auxiliary here. Put it out on a timer. Just plays right. So, battery's charged right now. I'm not going to hook it up. You guys all know what a coyote sounds like. The sounds sound like. So there's no sense in hooking that up. So what I'll end up doing is plugging the auxiliary into that bad boy right there. Hooking it up to my iPhone 4. And just setting it in here. Close it up. And we're good to go. It is good enough for me on a cheap. Total cost of this. So all the things that I didn't pay for was a stereo. I had one of those or I actually had a couple kicking around. Where's the other one? This is actually the one that I had in there. It's an old JVC out of my old truck. I didn't use that because that's a 15 amp unit. It was just sucking way too much power from the battery, plus the 2 speakers I was using. So I didn't need that fancy thing anyways. As long as it has an auxiliary and volume, I'm good to go, right? So I had one of those kicking around. If you don't, you can go to like an auto wrecker. I think they charge $20 if you pull one out. $20 for one of these bad boys. Just make sure it has an auxiliary outlet for it. If not, you can put a cassette in, whatever you want, right? And then the speakers I had kicking around. If you want, speakers you can get from Walmart. Cheap ones, $30, I think. I don't even know how much these were. I got them several years back. Don't use them anymore. So, cooler, or the wiring, brackets, all that I had kicking around already, so I didn't have to invest any money in that. The hood for this guy had that stuff kicking around. The chicken wire had that kicking around. All the screws, bolts, all that stuff. The only stuff I paid for was the battery. And like I said, that I think was $45. And, excuse me, the battery and the cooler itself, which was $10 at a thrift store. You might be able to pick them up free online here. We use Kijiji, States, Craigslist, whatever, I don't know. Cooler, you might even have an extra one of these kicking around that you don't use. So a cooler and the battery itself is all that I paid for out of all this. Oh, sorry. And the spray foam, which was $8. So $45, $10 for the cooler. We're at $55, another $8. We're at what, 45, 10, 55, $63. $63 I have in this. Spray paint I had kicking around, which was actually perfect. I had the exact spray paint colors I needed. Actually used these are just the ones I happen to have kicking around. Camouflage. I have a tan, green, and black. Use whatever colors you want. You might want to use just white, right? This thing was white before. Had a red lid though. Very red lid. So, yeah, that's my DIY e-collar. If you guys have any questions about it, you guys can comment, and I'll try and get back to you. All right, Mr. Nesky out.